On. Okay. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us. It is the first week in May, Monday, May 2nd. And I am very excited to have this speaker with us today. He was kind enough to share in the 5-star wall that he would be really happy to help any of us and hop on a call and sort of talk about retention and how to retain customers and retain coaches. He is he's part of corporate, one of the executive directors in charge of engagement and retention. And he has a powerful personal story as well that I think we can all hopefully relate to. So Scott, I'm going to turn it right over to you and let you, tell your story and talk a little bit about you, kind of what you guys do there.
Great. Thank you. And hopefully it's powerful. I don't know. It's still in the works, the story. But I'll give you a little bit of my personal story and then my professional journey of kind of how we got here. So on a personal note, I've struggled with weight for the majority of my adult life. I didn't when I was young because I grew up in a family of 15 kids and food wasn't an issue. So we didn't really have to worry about weight at that point. But as I got older, I struggled with that. And, I worked out a lot. I didn't eat right. I was raising my son kind of as a single father, and about 2010, I was about 270 pounds, and met my now wife, who's from India, and Indian people are a lot more blunt than Americans are. And I remember the first time she saw me without my shirt on, she said, you have good shoulders, you could have a good body if you could get rid of that big fat stomach. And I told her that we don't do it like that. You can say I'm big boned, but you can't just tell me that I'm fat. But anyways, it was a shot in the arm that I needed. And she actually knew that I was solutions oriented also. So she said, but I have the solution for you. It's called Atkins. You can eat all the bacon cheeseburgers you want. You just can't eat ones. I said, that sounds like a plan I'm part of. So I did do Atkins for about 3 months and dropped 25 pounds or so. It's not a good ongoing scheme, obviously. Anything that kind of discourages you from eating vegetables and fruits, you probably stay away from. But it did get me jump started, and then I got into Body for Life, which is very similar to the 21-day fix. I didn't know anything really about Beachbody at the time, but I was able to get down to my wedding weight of 195, which was a lot of people have those kinds of goals. And I did it the right way, doing a lot of group personal training, HIIT workouts, and got in really good shape, which the important part of that story is because I was doing it because I wanted to look good, and I was doing it because my wife was 11 years younger than I was, and I thought to keep up, I better do something like that. But as it turns out, and I have a 24-and-a-half-year-old son who's also a Beachbody coach, and I have an 8-month-old son. So not the best of planning, but a big gap in between the two. And when my 8-month-old son was 3 weeks, I was diagnosed with esophageal cancer, which is there's no early detection for esophageal cancer. So a lot of times people catch it when it's too late. Fortunately, I was having trouble swallowing, and I'm relatively young in the cancer realm. I'm 49. And so immediately got on chemo and radiation, and then around Thanksgiving, I had surgery to remove my esophagus. In removing my esophagus, which is a major operation, and they stretch your stomach up to your neck, and it becomes, your stomach becomes very, very small. But I did great in that surgery. It's about an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10 surgery. But then 4 days later, I started to have a lot of coughing attacks with about 200 pounds of torque on my core, and ripped all my stitches out, and had to go back into a second major surgery, which was a real problem. So the point of that story is that had my core not been as strong as it was, I would have never made it through the second surgery. That's what the doctor told me. So although I was getting in shape because I had a younger wife and I wanted to look good, and I dream of having abs, so I've kind of come to the agreement that I'm not going to have the best of abs in the world, but it actually saved my life. And that's why when I talk to people about getting in shape, and when I talk to people about getting healthy, forget about getting in shape, but being healthy and eating healthy and drinking their Shakeologies. I crave Shakeology now. You can't. Shakeology is actually too good because I was stage 3C, so I'm back into a chemo until July. And you can't take Shakeology when you're on chemo because the antioxidants are too powerful, which is a good thing for us, unless we're on chemo, and then, obviously we can't drink it. I did share a picture when I was in the hospital when I got my first Shakeology, but I was in the hospital for 20 days. So 20 days in the hospital, you lose all your muscle mass. So the point is now I'm 165 pounds, but I'm going to build it back up the right way. And that's, really what it's all about. I'm in a situation now where I can design my body any way that I want to. I probably won't have trouble eating too much anymore because my stomach is small. And I want to be in somewhat good shape when my son gets to be 13. Where before I was the young dad, now I'm going to be the guy that they don't know. Is it the grandfather? Is it the dad? They're not too sure. They're probably embarrassed to ask. But I'm determined to be in good shape and keep up with him. So that's my personal story. My son also, my older son was heavy growing up, and he shed about 100 pounds. So he's now a personal trainer, and like I said, and a professional rapper, by the way. You don't raise a rapper on purpose. You do that by accident. So I accidentally raised a professional rapper / personal trainer. So on a professional standpoint, going way back, I spent a lot of years doing consumer retention for direct response companies. Companies like insurance companies, America Online, all the old publishing, when you had to do this kind of thing in the 90s. And then I went and spent the last 14 years with American Express running their engagement and retention programs. That's important to you guys because a big part of American Express is the Open Small Business Network. And American Express is dedicated to helping small businesses do more business. That's actually the motto of the small business side. And now, you guys probably don't know, but one of our VPs left, Louis Ross, who was running the Diamond Line and Comp Gen teams. So I went in and asked Todd if I could take over those teams because I want to deliver something that is extraordinary to you guys. And I can take that same motto with these small businesses and translate it to the coaches. So our motto is to help our valuable coaches increase and improve their business. That's what we want to do. So every time that you call, whether it's the regular line or if you're calling the Diamond line or the Comp Gen lines, that we want to deliver something to you that's extraordinary. Now, we're not there yet. We're growing rapidly, so with that becomes a lot of challenges from a customer service standpoint. We launched 2 Manila phone rooms last year. One early in the year, one late in the year. And I've been driving those 500 agents to deliver something that is extraordinary. Someone in the last session I did ask me what kind of training they get. And I want to just tell you a little bit about the basis of how I train them. So I've created a culture called Alive with Passion. And the Alive with Passion is very simply what you guys do every day when you're working with your coaches too. It's not something that I created that didn't exist before. I just put a name to it. And the Alive stands for acknowledge, learn, inspire, value, and engage. So you're acknowledging the situation that person's in. You're learning about what their goals are and what you can really do to help achieve them. Everyone wants to be inspired. So you're going to inspire them hopefully at where the point where they are, not the point where you are, but you've got to understand what they want, and that's where you inspire people. The value of the customer, the value of the products and services, but also the value of talking to me. I'm an agent that talks to coaches every day, hundreds of coaches. I can tell you more about why you should do Shakeology than you know, because I've learned from all these other actions that I've had. I'm being a coach or an agent. And then engage. So none of that means anything. If we acknowledge, learn, inspire, value, but we don't get them to actually re-engage into the product, then the rest of that, really didn't pan out to be money for you guys. Because what we're doing is we're trying to re-engage customers so that you get your commissions and you're able to continue to thrive and your business can thrive. So the number one reasons, and I want to talk about just 2 areas then briefly. One is coach cancellation and one is the Shakeology and DOD cancellations. Probably you're more interested in the Shakeology. Shakeology, we get about 50,000 cancellation calls a month, which is that's a lot, just so you know, against a database of 400,000 customers drinking Shakeology. The main reason that they call is because they have too much product. But that's what they say, but that's not the reason. They're calling because they're not drinking it every day. So they're calling because they don't see the value in drinking it every day. And I will tell you, Carl would not like me saying this, but that's okay. I drink Shakeology, when I'm not on chemo, I'm drinking Shakeology 5 times a week, something like that. There are days when it just doesn't work out, and my schedule screws up. I want to drink it every day, but a lot of people are in that same boat. So when you take a customer and you say, okay, well, let's assume that they're drinking it 4 days a week, which is actually probably a win for us. At the end of the first month, they have a third of a bag left, right? If they went with the 30-day bag. And they're like, okay, I guess I can live with that. They now get the $120 bill or whatever it is versus the original challenge pack bill. And now, a month later, they've got 2/3 of a bag left. Still, they're not doing anything wrong. They're drinking it. They're a power user. They're just not an everyday user. Now they got 2/3 of a bag. They get another $120. Then for the third month, now I got a full bag left. I get a new bag, and I've got a $120 bill. And that's when they say no mas. And that's primarily when people call, is after that third month. And our job at that point is to do two things. One is to re-engage them into the value of Shakeology, which we're successful 35% of the time. That's not that bad. I wish it was higher, but with coaches, we're successful 60% of the time. So we're able to save 60% of these. You can assume most of these are discount coaches that are calling in. If they cancel their Shakeology, they're going to cancel their BSF because there's no reason for them to stay as a coach if they're not out there trying to grow their business. So we have those conversations with them. So we're successful 60% of the time. We ultimately do have to postpone them at some point in time because we have to address the issue of the fact that they have this extra bag of Shakeology, or maybe 2 bags or 3 bags. And what I work hard on my teams with is trying to make sure that they do that in the right way. So we don't just postpone people 3 months and try to put off an issue. We're trying to postpone them to get them back onto the right regular cycle. They have more flexibility now with the timing of the shipments. Those kind of things are more flexible than they were even a year ago. So we're really trying to match the shipment schedule with what the coach or the customer needs from that perspective. So that's on Shakeology. Anything like can't afford or too much product or doesn't like home direct, or really they're just saying they don't see the value in it. So we spend a lot of time talking about the competitors of Shakeology, which are numerous. It depends. I can't tell you the competitor until I know more about you. That's why I have to learn about you, right? I mean, are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to get in shape? Are you trying to increase your focus? Based on all of those, we come back with different responses in response to that. The coach cancellation process is pretty alarming when you really look at the numbers. We don't really look at the numbers. When I say we, I mean the senior leaders, because we're taking 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, but that's still 1 step forward. So the network keeps growing. There's 440,000 coaches, but that doesn't show you that 15,000 coaches canceled last month. That's a lot. And I just have the recent report of why they cancel. The number one reason coaches cancel is they're too busy. They don't have time to commit. Second reason is financial hardship. So you know as well as I do that if you're not working the business, it's a cost. If you're working the business, it's a small investment in what you're going to get. Then that's 69% of the cancellations. After that, it drops off greatly. And to your credit, this is the thing. Retention is not a one-time thing. In fact, if you wait to deal with retention until the time when the person decides they want to cancel, it's probably too late. Because now I've got to convince you that you want to do the exact opposite of what you think you want to do. And I've got to do it in a way that delights you because we're also held accountable to customer satisfaction scores. That's not that easy to do. We can do it when you're alive with passion. You can do it, but it's not the easiest skill to train, especially agents in Manila who are not inundated with Beachbody. I'm building a big culture there, but it takes time to build that culture. So retention is an all-time thing. It starts before you even acquire somebody, and it gets really intense during the early engagement process, right? So you engage people early on, and they're doing it the right way. I know because I'm going through this right now with my son who just became a coach last month. It's not easy what you guys do, but if you early engage them and you get them involved early on, and you're there for them and you're communicating with them, then you can prevent the engagement. Because what Beachbody does have going for us, we have a lot of wind in our face, from shipping issues to, God, email issues that just drive me bananas, things that are out of my control that drive me crazy. But we have great products and we have the right price for those products. That's what we have working for us, that those things work. If we can plow through some of these other issues, and we're getting better. My son's a millennial, so of course I'm getting the millennial aspect of all of this. And, even the challenges with my challenge tracker and all those kind of things, they're legitimate challenges. We get them fixed. But technology, if you've been with it Beachbody for a while, technology is one of the challenges. I joined 15 months ago, coming from a company that invests a lot of money in technology, and Amex knows if you call Amex, we know everything about how you use your card and calls, so that I can have a conversation with you that's going to engage you deeper from a spend perspective. We're nowhere close to that yet. In fact, on the last call, somebody was saying, if we just, when we get the leads, if we could just find out more about, the people when they do the leads, I wish I could give that to you, and hopefully someday I will be able to. But we're building a lot of things in the back end that are hopefully going to help us. So I wanted to give you that overview, and then more respond to any specific questions that you have. I know I probably didn't tell you anything you didn't know, except maybe some of the numbers. But the process by which, I still think the process by which you retain people is you've got to learn about them to a level that, you probably don't even feel like you need to. And you can't go to solve too quickly either. A lot of times we try to jump into solve. And let's say that the solve is that we postpone your Shakeology for a month. That's fine. But if I don't take you as a customer on that journey to get to that postponement and teaching you the value of the Shakeology, then I'm wasting my time just postponing you. And that's what I spend a lot of time training the agents not to do. At the end of the day, you're going to postpone it, but you got to take the customer down that journey so that they can learn why Shakeology is so important to them. And why it costs what it costs, quite frankly. When you build the value in it, then they start to understand the cost in it. Beachbody on Demand is another story. That cost should be higher. For what you get on Beachbody on Demand, it's a phenomenal product. And we have 680,000 people now using it. Beachbody on Demand continues to improve itself all of the time. There's a lot of things that are just, specific to Beachbody on Demand that you can't do. You can't do the same kind of things with Shakeology. Like you can't even in a retention environment have a different price point to save Shakeology as an example. Like as a coach, you probably say, well, let's just save them even if it's at $80, right? But you can't do that because then that gets out in the network and everybody wants it for $80. You already see all the scams that are online where you can get a bag for $80 and, and people don't understand, how that happens and why that happens. We try very hard to not let it happen, but it's not that easy. So I'll stop now and see if there's anything that you want me to go into more detail on or share more specifics about. Or what are your challenges? And maybe I have some ideas. I know millennials is a challenge for Shakeology for my son because, they don't have the money necessarily to spend it. Oh, I should tell you this. The average person that does Shakeology is a 39-year-old female with a couple of kids and a job. That's the average person. So I'm the husband of the average customer. It doesn't mean that's who we're targeting, but that's who is attracted to this because we can get them the nutrients, the daily dose of dense nutrition. We can get them what they need. They don't have to snack as much. A lot of my friends are in that boat and they travel a lot. They can travel and they can do their Shakeology and still lose weight. But the husband of that person is important too. So the first day, long before I worked at Beachbody, my son and I went to India and he wanted to do Insanity. So we're in India in this gym and with all these Indian guys staring at us doing Insanity. And, if you've done Insanity, it is insane. And watching people do it is insane as well. So that was fun. That was my introduction to Insanity and to Shaun T. But then one day I came home from work and my wife, it was a month before we were going on our annual trip to India. So she's got to lose weight, right, for the trip. She said, we're going to do this new thing called 21 Day Fix in Shakeology. And don't worry, I signed us all up for it. And I asked the legitimate question that probably every guy asks, right? How much? That's my only question. She said, it's $300, but hold on for a second because now you're not going to have to eat lunch. This is going to be your meal replacement and blah, 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 because she got to sign us both up for sure. So So we did Shakeology, and I loved it, and that was just prior to my, the Beachbody reaching out to me to come join them. So I believe in the products, and the product belief is the biggest piece to the whole puzzle. Well, just briefly, one other thing, what we do to get the agents to believe in the product is we have made it possible for them to have Beachbody on demand, obviously, and you'd be surprised how much the Philippine agents love size. They're all about the dancing. So we do video competitions and do all these other things, but they do use Beachbody on demand. And we finally got it so that we could get them enough Shakeology to do Shakeology every day. That's very hard because we run into a lot of customs issues trying to get all this Shakeology over there. But we can't get them Boost because Boost has an ingredient in it that the Philippine government is not too happy with. I don't know what it is, but they won't tell us, but it's one of the ingredients. Maybe it's just too impressive. But we do get them so that they can believe in the product. They can see that it works and they can use it. And that's the same philosophy you guys use every day.
Okay. This was all really great. A lot of this I actually didn't know, so this was nice to hear. I have a question on the coach cancellations. I know for a while we used to have the 3-day policy, and then we went back to the immediate cancellation. Now we're back to 24 hours. That's pretty new that we went back to that 24-hour timeline. I don't know if you guys have any sort of numbers.
I can tell you how we got there.
That coaches are rescinding cancellations now that we put that 24-hour policy back into effect.
Yeah, so I'll give you the history. I could probably get in trouble for this, but I believe in just telling you what I know. So the 3 days, so there's two issues here. There's the downline and there's the upline, right? So the 3 days is actually, you really can't do that. Forget about that you're the upline. Pretend you're that coach. You want to cancel, and your bill might be coming out in the next 1 or 2 days. You might get charged for that. So we really couldn't legally just hold ransom their cancellation for 3 days. And we got a lot of people complaining about that. Not the uplines like it because it gave them 2 more days to get in touch with people. But what we found was that the people that were actually saved during those 3 days was very, very low. And that's the bottom line. If it was a process where the uplines were able to save, then we probably would continue to consider that longer time period. That's how we got to the 24 hours, because quite frankly, it takes 24 hours anyways. These cancellations now, under the new process where you don't have to, thank God, you no longer have to print it and fax it in and all this. Hopefully none of you are thinking about canceling, by the way. Make sure everybody's paying attention. You don't want to cancel, so this is really not applicable to any of you. But now you can just do the wet signature and send it in. We hold it for 24 hours, process it to allow the upline to contact them. We also, we don't do a lot when they call in about the cancellation, but I'm working to change that. Michael Neiman hasn't been that interested in trying to do like a retention approach to these cancels, but I'm trying to drive that. That's why I actually have these latest stats in front of me. Because if somebody doesn't see the value of being a coach, I do believe that we should at least spell out for them the value. Forget about where the miss was, because you guys are working hard to make sure your coaches understand the value. But, this too busy, no time to commit, that's really saying, I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. I mean, you're not that big. No time to commit. You only have to sign up a couple of people, to make it worth your while. And actually, if you're going to stay on Shakeology, it's worth your while anyways, just to get the discount. So, there's deeper reasons here than that. I think personally what would be helpful, one of the things I'm pushing for is some kind of an assessment on the coaches as they come on. And there may be something in play. Now, I'm actually heading to Utah tonight to talk to the sales team in Utah so I can get a little bit more detail about what they do. And I know there's training for new coaches that come on, all of this stuff. We want to try to share some of our information with them so that, we can maximize all the synergies between the different groups and make sure that we're giving coaches everything that they can when they come on. But the reason I say assessment is because if people are who they are, your brain works a certain way. If you can't see my board, but that's what my board says back here. I want people to have a problem-solving brain to be on the phones with you, because when you call in, I don't know what your issue is going to be, and I'm not going to know until I ask you, and I need to be able to make that feel extraordinary to you. but if I'm a coach, if somebody's really not a self-starter, I should know that right up front. That means somebody I'm going to have to stay on top of every day, Whereas somebody that's not, I might manage them a little bit differently. But if you don't know that information, how are you going to know? You're going to use a cookie cutter approach to everybody, and it might not work for some people, and it might work for others. So I think the more information you get about how their brain works right at the very beginning can be very, very beneficial to how you go about that. But, we worked hard on this coach cancellation with CAB, just so you know. And there's not going to be a solution that satisfies everyone, unfortunately. That's the truth. So we think this is the best solution that we could come up with. When I say we, I don't mean me, and this is above my pay grade. But, the Michael Neiman's and Jeff Hill and Todd Montgomery's of the world and Mark Washington, they went through this. At the same time, one of the other things that that we're working hard on, for example, is Shakeology pre-notification. So in the past, you never got notified. Normal companies, you were going to ship you whatever I ordered, and it's on the way. We never did that. So Todd and I have been fighting hard for that for the last year. And finally, and there's a meeting right now that I'm blowing off for you guys. I like you guys. Where they're really trying to finalize it. So we did a test, and it does make some people call in to maybe cancel. But at least we get a chance to talk to them, and the product doesn't get in their hands, and then all this other dissatisfaction that goes about. So we're going to notify people by email before the Shakeology shipment goes out, and give them a link to if they want to modify it. If you want to change the flavor now, change it now before it comes to you. And so these kind of things we're working hard to do too. The warehouse move was painful, but long term it'll be better because now we're in a much better facility. And all these things we're working very hard to do. A year ago we didn't have any apps. Now at least we have apps of arguable how effective they might be. But the iOS app is very good, the one for Beachbody On Demand. And the My Challenge Tracker in theory is actually very good too. It's just, there's a few kinks I think that still have to be worked out. But we're getting there slowly but surely.
Come a really long way. I was in the test group when they released the Tracker app last year. And what they've already been able to do with it, I think, is unbelievable. And I mean, there's always tweaks, but I definitely like what has been done to it since we were all sort of beta testing it. I don't know if this is something that you guys do, but this is the first that I had heard of this, and I heard of it last week from a discount coach who he's old. He doesn't really check his email. He's a vet. He just drinks his shake. And he said to me, about a month ago, I got an email, and it was about how he could refer 3 people and pay for his Shakeology. And it was from Beachbody. I had never heard of it, never heard of a coach who had signed up just for the discount, sort of getting this email before. Do you know if that's something that was like a small test that was just sort of sent out? Because I read the email and I think it's great. Like, I think it's a great way to really entice coaches who have been drinking Shakeology, a very non-confrontational way to say, hey, listen, you get somebody to buy a couple of bags of this and, it'll cover your shake, which would then lead to more retention. But he was the first that I had ever heard.
It's funny you say that. It's actually very timely that you say that. Unfortunately, I'm going to be on a plane this afternoon, but the lady that runs the email is actually coming here. I'm going to have lunch with her at 12:15. They are testing I would love to say that I knew about it, but I didn't. I read on the wall about stuff that I'm like, how could I not be told that that's going on? So, the company is big enough now that there's those kind of problems. I should know about that. I know they're doing a lot of testing of emails, and even in the early engagement phase, but there's too many, people get 4 or 5 emails in the first month or something like that. And then people they just turn off. You don't go into emails and pay attention to them after a certain while. It's kind of like how Beachbody used to. I don't know if we do this anymore, but this drove me crazy. First time I got Shakeology, there was all this stuff in there about this, like derm exclusive. Like, what makes you think I need Derm exclusive? You know what I mean? Why? But that's a typical direct response mentality. You get a customer, you just try to sell them everything you can. I don't subscribe to that theory. Beachbody actually brings in a whole bunch of people and then kind of holds on to them as they try to leave. Amex brings in very few people that are highly qualified and stays with them for life. And the truth is somewhere in between. You got to bring in enough people, and not all of them are going to last, right? That's the other thing. You can't save everyone, and that doesn't mean you did a bad job of bringing them in. You know, you exposed them to something that down the line, it might mean something to them more. But I don't get all frustrated over every person that leaves. Especially if I understood what their goals were and it didn't look like this was a solution to them. I loved hearing about the old people. I had a guy that called in when I was taking calls for the agents, and a guy called in that was 66 years old, and it was a perfect situation. He told me, I said, well, why would you want to cancel Beachbody On Demand? He goes, I'm 66 and my doctor told me that I can't do half the workouts. I said, well, that's great that you can do half the workouts. There's over 400 workouts on there. That means you have over 200 workouts you can do. And there's workouts from all of our celebrity trainers. And here's the thing, though. There's a modifier. So just stay on the modifier if you don't feel that you can do. Or you know what? If you can't even do what the modifier is doing, just get up and just walk in place or run in place. And 3 weeks from now, you'll feel better. And 3 months from now, you won't believe where you are, because I talk to people in their 60s and 70s all the time that are in the best shape of their lives. I plan on being in better shape when I'm 60 than I am today. And so having that discussion with him opened his eyes to the fact that, and it's only $12.95 a month. It's not like you're signing up for a gym. You know what I mean? And so those kind of discussions with people, are good. But yeah, getting people to sign up, people to pay for their Shakeology is great. Anything to defer the cost. But what I like to do, my job is to make the $120 or the $4 a shake not expensive. Right. So I want to make it sort of like it's a no-brainer, like my wife did to me. I want to do that Jedi mind trick to everyone else. And then they feel foolish, and it's not easy. In Manila, $4 is a lot of money. You know what I mean? So I've got agents that I've got to get passionate about that and understand that $4 is not a week's pay. You know what I mean? It's not quite a week's pay in Manila, but you get the point. We give them $100 bonus if they do a really good job of Alive with Passion. $100 bonus for them in U.S. is 10% of their income for a month. So it's significant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this was a good email. He got it. So he has been a coach for just about a year now. And I think he first got it like in January. So he was probably 6 or 7 months after he signed up that he got this email. I had to see if I could find
I'm going to find out more about that, and then I'll email you about that.
Yeah, and it was a really good email. It was a good email. It was like, very like non-confrontational. It was very easy to say, like, hey, here's a great way to do it. If you have questions, here's more information. Here's your sponsor's email address. Like, it was right there. You could just click and email them. And it looks like they sent it like in January, and then he got it again like 60 days later. So it wasn't like they were bombarding him with emails, but he had said, I got these 2 emails. What do I do with them? And I said, just don't worry about it. Leave them alone. He's 77. He just wants to drink his shake. But I think for coaches that do sign up to get the discount, that may be younger or may have kids and are interested in covering their shake, because when you're on one income, it can be expensive to start. I think it's a great email, and I don't know anybody else that got it. And he just happened to say, hey, I have this email that's been sitting here for, 3 months.
I'll find out. I'll send you an email tomorrow about what the response was.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that if it's a test and it works, then we're going to roll it out. They'll test small, generally speaking. We have email issues more so with some reason we farm out a lot of the emails, and that company's horrible. And that's the company I'm actually trying to get them replaced. Because I know we sent out emails just recently to 2 million people about Beachbody On Demand. The information in the email wasn't even right. And then we sent these delayed shipment emails out in late February, and it said your chocolate vegan, unfortunately due to shortage, your chocolate vegan won't be ready till August 3rd. And I saw it on the wall. I'm like, August 3rd. It was supposed to be March 8th, but somebody flip-flop the month and the day, like stuff like that. You should get hired for stuff like that. You know?
Yeah.
I have no tolerance. That's your job as an email. You should have to physically move that month and day. Those kind of things we're trying to eliminate. But these emails where we're doing early engagement and we're trying to engage people, I appreciate the feedback, and we'll look for more feedback. But I'll find out the specifics.
I think it was great. And if you don't have it, I can have him forward me a copy.
Yeah, that'd be great if I could see the email.
Yeah, I'll ask him to send it over to me this afternoon.
But she'll probably know what it is right away when I bring it up.
Yeah. Any of you ladies have questions before we let Scott go? Yeah. Here, Ron, can you unmute yourself? Let me see. Oh, wait. There you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that my husband also got that email with the 3. I'm actually going to check now to see if I still have it, and I could send it to you guys.
Oh, if you can forward it to me. If Roger has it and you could send it to me, then that would be great. Then I don't have to bother George. I could send it right over to Scott. And
any ideas you guys have about what would work, let me know, because what we're trying to do is test a lot of stuff. Emails is one way. It's not, when you think about social media and, Facebook is how you guys do the majority of your business, and Instagram. And, I know people are experimenting with Snapchat, which I think is a good thing to do also, especially from a workout perspective. The difference between Snapchat and the others is that it's the only one that is real time. You can't do historical stuff on Snapchat. So you're having a challenge group and you really want to see people check in, and you want to know, or they want to know that you're actually doing the workout right now. Snapchat is the most authentic way to do it. It takes some of and there's no touching up your photos and all the other things that can happen in the other thing. But, just ideas like that, or I just think social media just got to stay ahead of whatever the latest curve is.
I think that was it. Did anybody else have questions? This was really great. Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it, especially because I love that you and Todd and whoever have been talking about sending out that reminder email before your shake ships. And I love the idea of it because people will know that like a charge is coming if they want to change their flavor, if they want to put it on hold for another month. And I kind of feel like if they're going to hit the button to cancel, they were going to do it anyway in a week when they got their bag in the mail and didn't know they got charged. And then this way they won't be angry about it when they call.
But overall, the cancel rate is not going down. So it's just changing they're calling earlier. That's all.
Right.
So we're still able to retain them. So I don't want you guys to think that you're going to lose too much out of that.
No,
in fact,
no.
One other thing I do want to say is we're actually looking we're looking for ways to increase your revenues. So my team is engagement and retention. So it's also about, when somebody calls in and they don't have Beachbody on Demand, for example, we will want them to get that. Or if they don't have Boost, we want to introduce them at least to Boost so that they understand the concept. Performance line, if they're working BOD and they're not seeing the results, we'll try to get them a free sampler pack. And if they get us a performance line sampler pack, 80% of the people buy at least one of those things. So all of these are things that will ultimately help you. And that's why I said at the beginning to improve and increase our coaches' ability to drive their business is our goal. So we think of all these have to be relevant. We're not going to sell anybody anything, but we're going to inform them about things that are relevant to the situation that they're in and make sure that they understand what's out there. And that'll be happening over the next few months as well. So hopefully that'll help.
I love it. Thank you so much for taking the time today. I really, really appreciate it. And when I get that Shakeology email, I will send it to you so you guys can sort of
Sounds good.
at it.
Keep up the great work, guys.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye, guys.